we're able to bounce off each other quite well, and we just know each other's roles. Like, Paul doesn't step on my toes, I don't step on your toes, and you know, that goes without saying.
I saw your LinkedIn post, and I think we'd spoken a couple of years ago as well. It didn't really go anywhere. That I'm paying to have my logo on your shirt, and that's the only involvement in it. We both saw a bigger picture to the point where we're collaborating on more than just a podcast now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today, I actually welcome my sponsor, Paul from Casita Properties. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to offer our knowledge, our experience over business, partnerships, and that's what we're going to be kicking it off with today. So Paul, it's actually a pleasure to have you sitting in the seat.
Makes a change to be in front of the camera as opposed to behind.
Sitting behind. And what we're going to start, we're going to try and offer some value in terms of understanding partnerships, what makes a good partnership. And then I have a lot of questions recently about sponsorship. Like, how do you get sponsorship? I've had a few different offers. Me and Paul have been working together now for a fair few months since the beginning of 2022. Mm-hmm. It's gone really well. And I think that's probably from your experience having partnerships, learning from them, and also from myself. So to kickstart it, what are the things that people need to know about when going into a business partnership or even a sponsorship?
I think regarding a sponsorship, you need to believe in the product that the person's offering and selling. I think that's essential, and you need to ensure that that's going to bring value to you and your brand. It's the right audience. And I think a partnership, really, you want to be aligned. You want to have sort of similar interests. You don't want to be too different to the point where you're not going to agree on things as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think from day one, and this is something that's really important and that I've spoken to a lot of people about, is like, you know, that day one where you announce what you're going to do, you talk about it, and it just has to be really clear from the off. You can't get off that initial phone call or however you're sort of talking about, you know, this potential business partnership, is that you come away unsure. That's what I found from partnerships that I've had in the past. I think you can become a little bit bitter if no one really knows where they stand, because someone might be pulling their weight, someone might be doing more. And I think from day one, and certainly that's what we did, wasn't it? You know, we knew where we stood. We speak pretty much every day. And I think that's just what's kept it nice, clear and clean, is just knowing where we stand and knowing our roles. And that's an important part.
I think everyone wears a hat in the business, and you're all wearing different hats. And it's just staying in your lane, knowing what your role is within that partnership, sponsorship, business, and just ensuring that you bring maximum value to the section of the business that you're controlling. Yeah.
So what would you look for? So if someone's sitting here, and I know many people that have asked me about the sponsorship and other sponsors that have sort of poked their head up, and you have people inquiring, what is it from a sponsor's point of view, or someone looking to approach someone and say, look, you know, this is what we could do together. If someone was watching this thinking, well, I'd love some sponsorship, or I believe I've got something that I could present to someone, what do they need to be doing, or what do they need to have in order for that person to have interest in it?
I think they need to have their product set up first, and they need to already have some sort of audience. I guess the sponsorship is what's going to elevate you to a much bigger audience. But there needs to be a foundation first that is going to be attractive for a potential sponsor as well. And I think it's almost like going to the bank with a business plan. You need to understand what having a sponsor, what you can offer them. Like, it's all well and good the sponsors offering money or infrastructure or whatever it is that you're requiring, but what is it that you're offering the sponsor? What is the exposure? What is the end goal? How are you going to promote their business as well? Which is essentially, it's paid marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really important, is knowing what your product is, presenting that really well, having the same vision, because obviously there's no point someone sort of coming to the end of their journey and you've got someone who's wanting to scale and grow. So obviously you have to be aligned. I think both partners need to be in that stage of growth. There's obviously there's a pull and push, give and take element to it. So yeah, absolutely, I'd second that. And to anyone watching, is make sure you have a product that is ready to go, just like you would pitch to an investor, or if you're proposing a business model to, you know, whoever, and you need finance, you would have it all laid out and ready. I think that's really important. So what are some of the mistakes that you've made
Mm.
in the past when it comes to, collaborating or business partners that someone could avoid?
I think what you just said then, where the sponsorship and the company that you're sponsoring, you're both coming up at the same time. You have that common goal, that common interest, and we talk all the time about ideas, and I give you advice, you give me advice, and you've learned something new and you share that with me, and that's sort of golden to our partnership. I think in the past I've had two very unsuccessful business relationships, and it's always been where they're kind of like a mentor, so they're above me and they're on a pedestal. And for me, short term, that was good. I learned what I needed, but I think when people see you coming up, they get a bit threatened, and the relationship starts to go that little bit sour. And I think you hit the nail on the head. But the best partnerships are when you're both aligned at the same time, and it's great to have a mentor, but maybe not as a partner, if that makes sense. That's just my experience.
Yeah, I really agree. I think when it comes to mentors and partnerships, I don't think either one of you can be too far ahead. I had exactly the same, where I've worked with someone and they were already established. They were already there. Therefore, like you say, it's almost like that underdog. Actually, is this partnership that was formed, could it be competition? And you might be a little bit naive and thinking, I just want to work really hard and get to that level. But that person might think, actually, you could potentially I can see the energy in you, could potentially overtake me. And I think when communication breaks down, I think that's really key. Like you said, we speak most days, we share ideas, we talk about the plans that we have. I think communication, you don't have to speak every day, but if you're going long periods of time without talking, you leave more questions than you have answers. And I think that's where relationships can break down, because, any form of a partnership, sometimes, as you know, I think a business partnership, you sometimes speak to your business partner more than you do your other half.
Yeah, agreed.
Just like you spend more time at work than you do with your family. So I think, going into any sort of sponsorship or partnership, you need to be ready to have that communication level. So those are some tips. I would mirror what you've said, really, is that don't have someone that's too far ahead. Have someone that's perhaps a little bit further ahead if you are with someone who's more established, but both of you need to have the energy, right?
Yeah, definitely. And just touching on, we talk every day. We've got to the point in my household now whenever my phone rings, my two little girls go, "Is that Aaron?" So
yeah.
So it's become apparent.
Yeah, and it works well. And I think, what's worked well, and if anyone's wondering, how it's worked well with us, is I think we're able to bounce off each other quite well, and we just know each other's roles. Like, Paul doesn't step on my toes, I don't step on your toes, and that goes without saying. So that's what's worked really well. So as someone who sponsors a channel, I know a lot of people are looking for sponsorship, especially when it comes to social media and YouTube channels and stuff like that. People are always looking to take on sponsors. If people are sitting here, what would you say are the three things, or just a couple of things that you would say if you want someone to look at your channel and think, okay, I'll back them? What should they have already?
So from a sponsor's point of view, okay. Well, I think definitely an audience already. Otherwise, it's a really long-term investment while that's being built up. A good product that's going to be sustainable and have longevity, and then I think just a clear vision on where the company or the person is looking to go, and how you think your involvement is going to get them there, but potentially get them there quicker as well. And they're the three things that I was looking for. And with you, it just so happened that at a time when I was investing a lot of money, rebranding into the business, taking on new staff, new offices, I was also looking to expand my audience outside of my property business. And I saw your LinkedIn post, and I think we'd spoken a couple of years ago as well. It didn't really go anywhere, but it was kind of like the right time, the right place, law of attraction, if you like. And it was just everything aligned right. And I'm a true believer of right time, right place.
Yeah, and here we are. So it's worked out really well. So, off the back of that, get yourself set up, get a product ready to go. And then it's always about, what you can offer as the value as well. Because, sponsorship, I think when people think of sponsorship, they always hear those amazing stories of getting paid huge amounts a month, which does happen. But I think that's the initial, okay, I have a product, surely someone's going to pay me.
Yeah. I think it's it's the football team mentality, isn't it? That I'm paying to have my logo on your shirt, and that's the only involvement in it. Yeah. And I think probably in the early days, naivety said that, okay, so I'm going to sponsor this podcast, and that will probably be my only involvement. But I think we both saw a bigger picture to the point where we're collaborating on more than just a podcast now, which is great.
Yeah, and to move on to that, so that's the brilliant thing is when you meet people, you start networking, you start branching out to, new businesses and stuff like that. Organically, new things happen. And, just to sort of move on to our next point is obviously from that partnership and, this sponsorship that we have is that we've now obviously created Peak Performance Events. So for anyone that doesn't know, it will be included in the description below, is that obviously we've now gone on to start up our own sort of events company, which is going to be different to the norm, isn't it?
Definitely.
I think we both had that vision of there's a lot of events out there and they're all kind of very similar, aren't they? So I don't know if you want to kick off, how this event's kind of going to run and the angle that we're attacking.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing is from sponsoring the podcast as well, the exposure that it's got from sort of attending network events previously and having to introduce the business myself is very different now when I go to networking events, because people already know who we are, what we do, which is great. And from those networking events, a lot of people have said, like, we love the content of the podcast, like, we want more. And I think that's where we had that conversation and we said, how can we take the content from a podcast and turn it into something quite special at an event, and make it fun, educational, but also somewhere where people can network as well. And I think that's what we're creating.
Yeah, we didn't want to niche too much, did we? I think there are a lot of events out there that we were looking at and it's quite niche in one industry. And I think not everyone's in a position to go into certain industries because, like property, let's call it what it is, you need capital to start. It's very hard to get around, getting onto the property ladder without capital. And I think there are a lot of people that have got a lot of drive. And obviously when we were talking is like, how can we appeal to the mass? Like, how can we bring on guest speakers? How can we put on an event where actually normal people in normal jobs, a little bit of capital, some savings, can come to an event and come away and think, actually, it's not just property, it's not just this. I can come away and actually, if I listen, I learn and I apply, perhaps I can do something. It's just opening your mind to, there's so many possibilities through like social media, different branding.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we want to offer, isn't it?
I think from the event that we're planning next Thursday, I think the great thing about it is typically they're not coming for a side hustle or they're not looking to leave their job. This is all about business owners and people building brands or have a vision of building a brand. It's giving them valuable advice in order to start or expand what they're already doing. A lot of them might have established brands, but they don't really understand the power of sort of expanding their brand and how quickly that can help them sort of scale up. So yeah. I think that's what's going to be unique about it. It's not friends coming together for a networking event. There is going to be sort of people from diverse backgrounds who don't know each other. And I think that's what's going to be really special about the events. Yeah, we talk a lot about positioning, don't we? I think that's a common conversation that like comes up is actually how you position yourself in your industry. And I think, people who've already got businesses, already got brands, with like slight tweaks, they could make themselves much more impactful to their market. And it's listening to people that, have already done it or are doing it. And, we're still in our journey of growing our brands and our business, but obviously we're surrounded by the people, not only that we interview and stuff like this, but, it's constantly learning, but then you've got to apply it. And I think that's what we wanted to bring to the event, is that sort of element of that motivational kind of, yeah, I'm able to do it. And it's not just one industry that I have to focus on. It's like, I now have a range of options. What do I think
is best for me, and to kind of give that
Yeah.
platform.
And I think it's giving real motivation and real mindset. We're not going to be high-fiving our neighbour and walking on hot coals and sort of all coming in dancing to music. It's going to be real motivation that people can actually take away and apply to their business, their everyday lives, their routines. And it's just real value. That's what we're aiming for. It's not going to be cheesy. It's not going to be gimmicky. And it's not going to be the same every event. Every event is going to be different location, different theme, different speakers, different audience, and just a different setup.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you keep new people coming in, and is having that sort of change on it. You know, like you say, the guest speakers that we're talking about now are exciting. So the event should only get bigger and better. So hopefully for everyone that wanted to know a little bit more about me and Paul, what happens behind the scenes, how we formed our partnership, get to see Paul a little bit more on the camera. Like you said, he's always normally sort of just behind the camera, but hopefully that was an insight. And for anyone that does watch this and wants to attend one of our peak performance events, again, what we'll do is we'll include the link in the description below. And look, perhaps if you go on to follow Paul at Casita Properties, follow myself at Aaron Knightley Official and Knightley's Roundtable Podcast. Drop us both a DM, and I tell you what, DM us saying on the air peak performance, and then what we'll do is we'll give you a discount to the entry of our next event. So until next time, Paul, thanks for stepping into the chair. Well, sitting in the chair, mate.
Yep.
And
until the next time.
Until next time, we will see you all very soon.